I'm Kimberly Lawson Roby, and this is the Woman God Created You to Be podcast. The Woman God Created You to Be podcast is for the woman who wants to become the very best she can be in all areas of her life, and it is my sincere prayer that together you and I will be able to do just that. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me, and here's today's episode. As a published writer, from the very beginning, I have made it a point to handle my business with as much integrity, decency, and diplomacy as possible. Of course, there have certainly been times when I have had to stand up for myself, and when I have shared my thoughts and opinions about things I don't like as they relate to my books and events, or when I simply just don't feel something is being handled in the best way possible. But at the same time, no one is going to tell you that I have cursed them out in the midst of any of our conversations or that I have hung up on them whenever speaking to them by phone. I do admit, though, that over the years, I have definitely had some unfortunate debates with folks in business who don't believe you should question anything they're doing wrong, or folks who mostly just believe women should know and stay in their places, and that they should just be happy they're in business at all. But again, this is not a reason for me or you to act out in a way that will jeopardize our faith. In fact, even after I have had business disagreements or experienced tension with colleagues, for me, when a problem has finally been resolved, I quickly move on and I continue treating that person the way I want to be treated. I continue addressing them in a cordial, courteous, and respectful manner. And the reason I do this is because, well, I know it's the right thing to do. So believe me when I say that when we're working hard at trying to be successful, there's never a reason to hold grudges or to do the wrong thing just because we've had a disagreement with someone, or we may have even had to agree to disagree with them. Another example I have about not jeopardizing my faith was the time I received a $100,000 overpayment from one of my former literary agencies. I had been expecting a check to arrive, but when it did, I opened the envelope and saw a bank draft that had been written for much more than I was due to receive. Needless to say, I was stunned, but I also immediately called the agency, notified them about the error, voided the check, and waited for them to send me the correct amount. I didn't wait for them to discover it on their end or for someone to contact me first because I knew the overpayment didn't belong to me. And yes, depositing an extra $100,000 into Will's and my savings account would have been nice, but because of my faith in God and all that I have been taught by my mom and grandmother, it was never a consideration. And even better, God has still continued to bless Will and me in many different ways, which has also allowed us to be a blessing to others. Another thing I realized I didn't have to do in order to be successful was to include profanity or graphic sex scenes in my books. Early on, with some of my first few titles, I included both, and while I'm not proud of that, the good news is that once God delivered me from including even one word of any of it, He still continued to allow me to have a great writing career overall. So please know that there is never a reason to do the wrong thing. There is never a reason to treat people badly or to try to manipulate or take advantage of them. And there's also never a reason to lie, cheat, steal, or deceive anyone. Because the truth of the matter is, you don't have to stoop to any of those unfortunate levels to accomplish anything. More important, you don't have to stoop to any of those kinds of levels to follow the purpose God has given you. Instead, you can do absolutely everything He has called you to do with grace, dignity, and total honesty. Best of all, you can still be hugely successful without ever jeopardizing your faith. Now for the 3 things you can do as it relates to today's topic. Number 1, be honest and always do the right thing. So even though the example I'm about to give has very little to do with purpose, business, or success, I'm hoping that it will still encourage you in those areas. So again, as an example, about 4 years ago, when my twin niece and nephew and I were shopping out at the mall and we were preparing to leave Bath & Body Works, I scanned my receipt and noticed that the sales clerk hadn't charged me for the 2 liquid soap holders I had purchased. Of course, this didn't sit right with me, and this was when the 3 of us turned around and headed back toward the checkout counter so I could let the sales clerk know about it. This is something I would have done whether my teenage niece and nephew had been with me or not, but on that particular day, I was actually glad the mistake had happened so that hopefully they too will remember to always be honest and to do the right thing, no matter how big or small they may believe the situation or circumstance might be. Number 2, never take advantage of others. So for a number of people who know me personally, they will tell you that they've sometimes heard me say, I'm not doing that. And if they've heard me say this, it's usually because someone else has suggested that I cut out or even go around someone who's attempted to initiate a business deal with me. Sadly, I've had this happen more than once, and not only was I terribly disappointed in each person who did this, each incident also confirmed to me who they truly were as individuals. Another thing I don't believe in, too, is taking advantage of family members or close friends when they have a business. Because to me, business is business, no matter who you're buying from, and we should treat everyone's business with the utmost respect. Meaning, if that family member or friend quotes you a price, don't insult them by asking for a family and friends discount that may not even exist. Instead, support them in the same way you support people you don't know and in the same way you support major retailers. And number 3, remember that not all money is good money. There is no doubt that most of us want to be as successful in life as we possibly can. But if you've read my book, The Woman God Created You to Be, then you know why I've made the tough decision to pass on certain film and TV deal offers. I've done so because I don't want to sacrifice any of my values for the sake of notoriety or a larger bank account. Now, I definitely don't see anything wrong with being successful or earning good money, but I also want to make sure I'm earning my living in an honest way, because when we are honest, we show ourselves to be honorable. We also show ourselves to be true women of God, and when we do this, God will make it possible for us to earn the right kind of money in the right kind of way, and we won't have to do anything that isn't good for us. We can stand on the side of right and still be just as successful as anyone else. And finally, here's a scripture to help you even further. There is a joy for those who deal justly with others and always do what is right. Psalm chapter 106, verse 3, New Living Translation. Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode, and as always, I pray that our time together has been a blessing to you in at least some way. I also hope that you'll subscribe to the podcast and share it with others. And in the meantime, please stay safe and know that I am praying all of God's wonderful blessings for you and your family always. Thank you so much for listening, and if you'd like to receive further encouragement, please check out the companion book for this podcast, The Woman God Created You to Be, Finding Success Through Faith, Spiritually, Personally, and Professionally. Also, if you'd like to discuss today's topic or share a personal story, please visit me on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Then, so you won't miss a single episode, please subscribe to the podcast or follow it through your favorite listening app or website. And if you would, please write a review and recommend the show to others. Until next time, much love, God bless, and thanks again.